Hey everyone, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, DevOps TV, here at DevOps Enterprise Summit 2017 in London. And I'm joined with my friend Mik Kersten, CEO of Tasktop. Mik, welcome.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you for being here. So, for our audience out there, well, if they're DevOps.com followers, you know, Mik, you and I have done podcasts and interviews over the years, and they're probably somewhat familiar with Tasktop. But if you haven't had the chance, Tasktop is one of those, you know, gems of a company within the DevOps space that so many companies that are doing digital transformation, that are you know, adopting DevOps, are really using it as almost, I call it like the glue of you know, a lot of what they do in terms of different tools and stuff like that. But yet when we think of DevOps companies, people think of, you know, a Chef or a Puppet or CloudBees. And Tasktop may not be on the top of their mind, but yet everyone's using it. So it's a company that if you're not familiar with, you should be familiar with. And Mik, as the CEO, I'm going to give you a little chance to blow your horn here a bit. Why don't you share with our audience, not technology news, but company news, a little bit about Tasktop and what's been happening new.
Sure, thanks Alan. And I think it's like you say, all of our customers involved in some kind of digital transformation, whether they, as we just heard at the plenary talk at DevOps Summit in London here, you know, they just had their entire leadership go and see how Bay Area startups do technology and brought that back, and this was talked by Allianz, to their company. Everyone's trying to put together a more effective tool chain that basically drives faster time to market, and you know, more software iterations, more automation to make sure the software can get out there faster. And as part of that, I think there are a few things that every IT leader is looking for. One is how to modernize that tool chain, and that's where you bring in those companies like the Puppets and Chefs and Atlassians and ServiceNows and so on, and how to do that in a way that works for them, because as we know, the tool chain that Netflix set up for themselves might not be the exact right tool chain for a bank or a car manufacturer.
Sure.
Where you have, you know, not a handful of applications at massive scale, but you've got thousands of applications across the different lines of business of the bank. So you also need the philosophy behind that transformation, which, you know, previously it was just all around Agile, but we realized Agile has kind of hit this wall where it was so focused on project management and almost became, well, Agile is a key thing. I don't mean to throw Agile under the bus. It's a very important thing.
Not to belittle it.
Exactly, we do Agile, but it was not sufficient. And there were actually some issues, I think, with the approach to Agile being so anti-tool and so anti-automation. And I think we're just in a much better place right now where it's about tools and automation and cultural transformations and all those things. And that's what we've got with the DevOps movement. But what we realized really early on, as we kind of came out of Agile and developer-centric tools, is that it wasn't enough to have those tools alone. The tools could capture processes like Scrum, you could have automation and continuous delivery through the tool automation. But in the end, what you need to do is deliver something for the business, and for the business, it's just faster time to market, it's just more visibility into your application portfolio. And what we realized is you need to connect the end-to-end value stream. And Tasktop this is basically exactly what we do. Whatever your tool chain, whatever your mix of legacy tools, your enterprise tools used for controls, if you're at a big bank or for governance, and those new tools that you want to bring in, the very productive tools, the Agile and DevOps tool chain that you want to modernize with, you have to connect that into an end-to-end value stream. And the thing that's been missing, and the reason why I think, as you mentioned, some organizations did not know about us up front, is because we tend to think, and IT buyers tend to think tool first. Let me get my Agile tool, my CI tool, let me put together the open source and the SCM tool and so on. But today's tool chain for these digital transformations has become so best of breed, which is great because developers are happy and testers are happy and the ops people are happy. But the result is, if you don't think integration first, and if you don't actually look at your end-to-end value stream and figure out how business value should flow through that thing, you're not going to get that improvement that you're looking for. So this is exactly what we've created. The reason Tasktop has grown so much lately is I think we're seeing these digital transformations pick up. We're seeing the IT leaders and buyers that realize that you need to connect all these tools to get the business results, to get what your CIO or CEO is looking for.
Sure.
And yeah, that's driven a bunch of our growth lately. There are this nice niche we found in the market.
Well, I think it's more than a niche. I think, as I mentioned before, it's the glue, because culture is important, obviously, but we, for whatever reason, it's a very tool-centric industry in the IT.
It is, yeah.
And we're all using multiple, if dozens, if not more, tools. And you need something that kind of brings order to the chaos of that tool chain.
Yeah.
And that's where you guys really have kind of made your mark. And as a testament to that growth, Mik, recently I know you guys have announced some big corporate milestones. I think you recently had a new raise.
Yeah, we announced our Series B investment to help us further scale our product delivery, our ability to service the world's largest organizations going through their transformations.
Details or it didn't happen.
Sorry?
Details or it didn't happen. What were the details of this round B?
Oh, it was an 11.3 million US led by AVX out of Austin, and then syndicated by our other VCs, Austin Ventures and Yaletown Ventures. So that's to really, again, accelerate that growth and the innovation around the product, because what we realized is this value stream integration technology that we're providing, it's now supporting some incredibly sophisticated use cases, right? Mm-hmm. You mentioned that we're very tool-centric. The large organizations out there, it's not 3 or 4 tools that they have.
No, it's dozens, if not hundreds.
Exactly, across so many different projects, right? I think the big thing that's happened is, the big thing that we see here, and if I look back at this conference a year or two, some of the transformation leaders that speak here, we'll have seen them do one line of business, or maybe do their own, the department or a business partner that they work more closely with. They've done a transformation for 100 developers, and it's worked. Yeah. Right? They've demonstrated value. And now the problem's not, is there value in this DevOps thing? Now it's, how do we scale this to thousands of IT staff?
Sure.
And across the different lines of business. So we've just been investing a ton in making sure that we support all the different systems. So as of July, it'll be 54 different tools.
Wow.
And over 360 versions now of those tools tested. Because the interesting thing with all these tools is it's almost become a fashion industry of tools, right? That you've got every different kind of, you might be using Jenkins today, but then of course the most forward-thinking people are looking at Travis CI and so on, right? The tools are always changing and innovating because of how much change we're seeing from everyone trying to scale up these transformations.
Well, it's always about using the right tool anyway.
Yeah.
So, and it's not as static, you're right. But you also made a recent appointment to your advisory council, right?
Yes, we did.
Up?
Yeah.
Share with our audience?
Yeah, no, so I'm thrilled that to have Gene Kim as a strategic advisor to the company. Uh-huh. So Gene and I have been trying to, just having these conversations over the course really of especially the last 6 or 8 months, around how we help these organizations scale. And Gene's basically like a genius in terms of channeling all of this need that the entire market has and putting together this community of sort of the key transformation agents, the key vendors, and everyone else around it. And this next problem that we've really kind of glommed onto, Gene and I in our discussions, is how to make the whole organization think differently. Because the old ways that we have of thinking, like organizational charts, and that we bring a tool in here and there, and put some agile here, it's just not working. We need to take a whole different view on the software architecture and a whole different view on the org chart of the company to really now drive the next phase of these transformations. And this is this value stream centric view. So Gene and I have been having just these fascinating discussions on how we both with create this long-term vision to help companies do that, and then also make sure that you can implement it with the current set of vendor tools and practices and so on. So it's just been I've just been learning tons from Gene, and I'm thrilled that in the advisory role, we're talking even more now. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that was it a new release that added more tool coverage, or?
Oh, the most interesting thing. So we release. We have marketing releases quarterly where we announce new features. And the April announcement was all around, I think, a very interesting thing that we did. So it's our integration landscape visualization technology. So you've got all these tools, and as a lot of you out there know who are the people creating these tool integrations, if you don't have something like Tasktop, some DevOps integration hub, which is what we've created, you're basically connecting all of these different APIs and tools together with webhooks and a bunch of code and so on, and it just becomes this crazy spaghetti mess that we used to think of spaghetti code. For our larger customers with Tasktop, we would end up with sometimes dozens, in some cases, in a few cases actually hundreds of different integrations of how things should flow across these tools, because you get so many different projects, they haven't standardized and so on. And so we realized that there's a real visualization problem. People need to be able to see the tool chain and flow through the tool chain. So we released this view of the integration landscape, so we can see every tool, every webhook you've set up, and you can see how every single one of the tools that you've connected flows and how all of this might flow into your reporting database and so on. So I've just been this is the most exciting thing to me that we've released over the course of the last year or two, because it's finally giving, and it's just the start of something, a visual representation on your tool chain.
Yeah.
And then with that, of course, we can build all sorts of new things on how to show you flow, because in the end, our whole goal is to make sure you have this connected value stream and that you can make decisions based on that. Like, for example, that you've created all of this development transformation, have all these development projects, but maybe your UX design tool, because as we know, UX is becoming much more important, or your product management tool. As I think one of the biggest shifts we're seeing right now in at least our largest customers is they're starting to think not only in this project-oriented way, where it's all PPM, and does not really quite align to the way we think about DevOps and incremental delivering value, to a product-oriented view. And then that means you're bringing in these new tools like JAMA and Target Process and Blueprint Storyteller and AHA and so on. But you might see that that's actually not connected to your development tool chain, your delivery pipeline. Yeah. So being able to see that, I think, is a key next step.
It sounds really important. Mick, we're about out of time, because otherwise you and I would wind up talking all day, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
But hey, fantastic news. Keep up the great work. Tasktop really is, I think it's time people start realizing what a critical role it plays in this whole life cycle. So congratulations and continued success. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com, DevOps TV, here at DevOps Enterprise Summit London 2017.